Hello everyone, welcome to another EV Ramblings video. My name is Dustin, and beside me is my 2017 Chevrolet Bolt Premier trim. Now, I've owned this for about 2.5 years now, and through that ownership, I've come up with some things that I'd like to share with you. So this video is going to be a top 10 tips for owning a Chevrolet Bolt. Now, this only applies to the first generation Bolt, the 2017 to 2021, and some of the tips will be Premier only, which I will note when I get to those sections. So with that, let's just get right into it. Okay, so my first tip on this list is being able to identify what battery is actually in your Chevrolet Bolt. Now, this could be more of a buyer's tip as well, but given that Chevrolet has a huge recall going on, still ongoing, where they have to replace the battery in every first generation Chevrolet Bolt, it can be quite important to know if that battery's been replaced or not. Now, this is only technically going to work easily for the 27 to 2019, as those ones came with a lower 60 kilowatt hour battery pack and not the 66 in the newer model. But to identify that, basically just follow the center line down the car, and you have to get underneath and look at it. Now when you're under here, you should see from my other camera that there's a whole QR code identification, and right at the bottom you'll see there is 64 kilowatt hours. So this one is the replace pack. So a very easy thing to do, and it can give you maybe that peace of mind to know if that battery's been replaced or not. Okay, so this is the second one, and this is more of a warning than a tip, but I am going to call this Satan's tip. And I would almost guarantee that this is going to happen to anyone that owns a Chevrolet Bolt. So I'm going to take something out of the back seat here, and I'll move it to the trunk. I already have the trunk open. Oh!
Fatality.
Ow! Wasn't supposed to be that hard. These points on the trunk, they are literally death. And they stick out from the car, and you can hit them from the outside, coming from the inside of the trunk. Just please be very careful around that. You can cause some serious head damage, and if anything, I would say that this is probably one of the biggest flaws of this car. Okay, ownership tip number 3 happens in the trunk of the Chevrolet Bolt. Now, on the Bolt itself, you can have this little privacy screen filter for like your belongings so people can't see what's going on in there. And it's held on by some straps up here, and also a little bungee hook at the bottom. Now, these bungee hooks are held in by basically these little twist plastic pieces. And these can actually easily fall out and are kind of a pain in the ass, I've found. So I can't actually show you what to do. But what I did was I went and actually put a little dab of silicone in and then put them in place. And they have not fallen out in more than 2 years since. So that's just... I can't see a reason why you ever would want to remove them, and the silicones can still make it so you can if you need to. So yeah, that's just a quick and easy thing to make your life a little bit easier with this car. Okay, this is tip number 4. So basically, this has been a complaint with the Bolt since it first came out. Now, the Bolt was available in a darker trim, which is inside, which is what this car is, or a lighter trim, where you had a really bright light dash as well. And almost universally with the bright dash one, people complained about the reflection of the dashboard on the window. And also on all cars, there's this little chrome bar up here, which can reflect the sun as well. I never had an issue with it in either trim because I did test drive one of the lighter trims before. But then I realized that it was because I'm wearing polarized sunglasses. And now I'm not sure how much this effect is going to go, but I'm going to put a polar filter on the camera. Okay, now it's on. And now I hope you can see the difference. Basically, without it, it's very strong dash reflection, even on the dark one underneath here. But with it on, it pretty much completely disappears. So I would suggest, as an owner tip, if you have the Chevrolet Bolt, to buy a pair of polarized sunglasses. It'll make driving the car that much easier. Okay, we're on tip number 5, and this is for Premier trim only. I'm sorry, all you LT trims. But basically, you may or may not know this, but your rear view mirror on the Premier also has a dual function, whereas if you switch this, it switches to the camera. And I know a lot of people don't find this useful, but I've had some loads in the back of my car which go almost right to the roof, and this has allowed me to see out the back, which I found super useful. But if you notice, there's a bunch of dirt on the rear view camera right now. And I think a lot of people miss this, that there actually is a washer built in for those cameras. Now this at the same time also washes the rear window, but all you do is take this right stock and just push it, and you'll see the water goes right away and just blasts it off. And I actually use this a lot. I find this is, if you've just driven in wet weather and you are back into a spot and you can't see that well, just give it a blast. So as much as I love my Chevrolet Bolt, the infotainment system in the middle is, I'd call it a little bit half-baked. And you'll find that it locks up or freezes every once in a while, where it just won't respond, or it's taking a really long time to respond. I've had it a few times where it's just gotten locked in the rear view camera, or it just won't load whatsoever. But there is a way to reset it, and it's quite easy. So looking at the infotainment system itself, you'll see on the bottom here near the volume control and the power on off, there is a forward button and a home button. All you do is just hold those down for 10 seconds. So I'm going to do that. And yeah, you'll see it just suddenly powers off, and the unit will basically reboot itself. You may get a connection error on your display up here. That's normal. And it will take a few seconds to boot back up. But this is just a really good way to get you operational again. And once again, I've found that this bug or this freezing just happens sporadically, usually obviously in the worst time and place. So yeah, that's tip number 6. Tip number 7, and that is about the center console. If your Bolt is a little bit older, which it should be, chances are you've lived with this sound. The center console creaks like mad, and given that it's an electric car and it's quiet, it's actually quite annoying, the sound that it makes when you're driving down the road and you're using it. Nothing, I think, shows this car being cheap quite like this, but I found a way to fix it. So what I have here, this is from a company called Frost King, and it basically is rubber foam, so it's a weather seal. This one's listed at 4.8 millimeters thick, so anything close to that should be fine. But basically, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want about 4 of these pieces, cut them about, the length of that's hard to say, but about half a finger length. And we're going to place some of them on the console in these spots. Now, you're going to stack a couple of them. The ones on the side you're going to stack. Remove those backings. And then you can put 2 up front here. These ones are going to be smaller, about the size of the end of your finger. Those ones are going to go right about there. Remove the little backings once again. And then close. And sound's gone completely. I have tested this for 6 months, and even though the foam, the rubber foam, did compress, it for the most part stayed quiet. Eventually, though, they will slide off. You may need to readjust them and then just replace them. But this is just, it's such a relief to have that sound gone. And it doesn't impact how easily it is to open and close. So a very simple fix. This stuff is dirt cheap. So do yourself a favor and install that. Okay, tip number 8 is actually about the windshield wipers, and this is going to be for colder climates. But basically, when the windshield wipers are off, they're in a recessed state, which helps with aerodynamics. But when you first turn them on, and you'll see after a first wipe, they stay high. Now, if we turn the car off at this point, leaving the windshield wipers on, the purpose for this is if you have the heater setting to defrost the front window, when you turn that on via the key fob, like to pre-warm up the car, it's going to also warm up and heat up the windshield wipers themselves. So just realize that if you are in that colder climate and it's parked outside, it's very handy to just leave that on, have it in the upstate, turn the car off, and then when you go and turn the preconditioning on, it's just going to help warm them up, melt them. Okay, tip number 9 is about the key fob. Now this is something that can be found in your manual, but I figured it is important just to tell people. Now I've gone and removed the battery from this key fob, so if I try to turn that on the car right now, it's just going to not do it and tell me that there's no key detected. So, to get the car started with a dead battery in your key fob, we have to move to the center storage console here. So open it up. I've already taken out everything. It's going to be probably impossible to see, but in the front left corner, there's actually some little raised knobs. So you just have to put it in between there and come back, and the car will power up. So very easy, and it's something just that can really save your bacon if you happen to just get stuck out somewhere with your battery not working. All right, this is the final tip, tip number 10, and this is about the level 1 amp setting. So this car has the ability to go through, if we click on the energy button here, and then charging, we have a charge limit of 8 amps and 12 amps. Now, unfortunately, the car, you can't set a default. Its default is always 8 amps. Now, I really encourage you to find out what your charging limit is on your level, or 110 outlet. But if you have the ability to do 12 amps, that's a significant improvement. Now, so to avoid having to always go in this menu, there is kind of a way to get around this a bit. So from this main screen, there is an edit button. So you click on edit, and this is basically different ways that you have, or settings for the display. I would choose custom, and then just kind of go through and add. So what we're going to do is, let's say audio here. Oh, let's do energy details. Let's add, phone. And this bottom right one, we're going to do charging settings. Click OK. And that's our main screen now. So from here, so if you just, every time you click on home, this is the screen you're going to get. You just choose the 12 amp settings there. Now, another thing as well is if you do that when the car is off, let me just turn this. It will remember until you use it. So yeah, that's just one way to basically save a little bit of time switching between the 8 and 12 amp setting, and it's super simple. So that is my video of the top 10 tips for owners of the Chevrolet Bolt. I hope you found it useful. Thanks for watching, and yeah, happy driving.